Hello everyone. My name is Young Chan. My title in UCDC is as Coordinator of Student Development. I am working with Debbie Deas, who is our Director of Student Services and the Chair of the UCDC Basic Needs Committee. You've seen her in orientation during Student Connections and on Slack channels when she posts in the Basic Needs chat. You will hear from a lot of staff members today, either through public main room celebratory remarks and final words or in breakout rooms. So we're really excited for you to be here. So we're going to go to the next slide because first one up is going to be our Professor Mark Sandalo, who is the Associate Academic Director and UCDC instructor. And he was very gracious enough to agree to speak about letters of recommendation. He's going to talk about what does it look like, how do you ask about it? And he's a professor, so he has firsthand knowledge. So I will hand it over to you, Professor Sandalo. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Young Chan, and good afternoon, everybody. I promise I'll be relatively brief. Today is one of those really rare days. It happens about 10 or 15 times a year. We were just commenting on it. We in Washington had nicer weather than you guys did. Seriously, it was 71 and sunny here. And it happens, I mean, you guys have nicer weather than us about 350 days a year. I'm not exaggerating there. But today was one of those days where it was actually nicer here. A lot has changed in the 2.5 months that you guys have been here. 2 months, it's been 65 days. We had orientation on January 4th. Donald Trump was president. On a very somber note, somewhere between 150,000 to 200,000 Americans have died since we began the term due to COVID. It's been a very hard term. It's been a very hard year for us, for you, for the country. As Young Chen mentioned, this Friday marks the 1-year anniversary of when we last had our building open and when we all departed and said goodbye to each other. And we've been working remotely ever since. And it's very frustrating. I know it's frustrating for you. It's frustrating for us. And then, January 6th was the only day and the first day of that I was glad that we didn't have students here. And it's a horrible thing to have to think, but I was glad that we did not have students in our building on January 6th. That's how messed up Washington was. Fortunately, that is not the status quo, nor am I going to dwell on somber things. I mean, this is a celebration. Anybody here take their last college class today? Just wave your hands. I know I had a few people in my class, that's true. Anybody who did that, congratulations. I know that most of you will be, or many of you will be graduating in just one more term. I really want to congratulate, we want to congratulate all of you and tell you how impressed we are with your determination. I mean, classes were different. Internships were very hard to get. And each of you made the best of the situation. And for that, all of you should be proud. We're all impressed. I mentioned this earlier that every job interview I've ever conducted here at UCDC, we have a list of questions. And one of the questions is always, name a time when you faced adversity in the job place and how did you overcome that diversity? Now, you may well have better stories by the time you get asked that question, but all of you at a minimum can tell people that, yeah, you had an internship in Washington that was canceled in person or wasn't in person because of a global pandemic, but you persevered. You did it online. And that's nothing to, to sneeze at. You guys and some of your classmates can't boast of this experience, have a professional work experience on Zoom. And that's really important. That's a good thing to be able to boast about. I want to say a few words, as Young Chan said, about letters of recommendation. Some people get intimidated by asking. A lot of people don't. I know because I'm asked all the time. I know Professor Deas is asked all the time. Let me just give you some very simple advice. Be nice, obviously. Send a nice letter. And, I hate to say this because it breeds insincerity. Start out by telling the professor that you enjoyed their class, remind them who you are, and tell them that your class either inspired them or got them interested in the topic, and they'll like you right off the top. Tell them why you are pursuing whatever it is you are asking for the letter of recommendation for. Don't just say, I need a letter of recommendation to go to law school. Say, I want a letter of recommendation because I'm interested in law school, because I would like to be an immigration attorney. I would like to be this, or I don't know what I want to do with the law, but I know I want to help certain groups of people. It helps to not only endear us to get motivated to do this, but it gives us something to say in the letter about what your motivations are, which they always want. Um, Send them something to remind them of who you are. For example, send them your final paper. Unless you did really poorly on it, and then send them something else, but send them your final paper so they can remember. And I always mention, even if I don't remember exactly, I read the paper, I remember them. And again, this is a good thing for a professor to include in a letter of recommendation. Send them, if you have it even close to finished yet, a draft of your personal statement or whatever it is you're sending to the graduate school or job or whatever it is you want. Because again, these letters always ask the professors, tell us what you know about the applicant. And when the applicant says, oh, I'm really interested in international policy and refugees, I'll regurgitate it a lot of the times in the letter. It's like, well, I know the student's always been interested in refugees, and it really is good to reinforce them. Here's something you can do immediately. Thank all the professors that you got letter of recommendations for as soon as you finish this term. Uh, Almost all of you got letters of recommendation to come to UCDC. Tell them what a great experience you have and thank them for helping you get to that place. And it serves a number of purposes. I mean, first of all, they're going to really appreciate it. Second of all, it's a really great way for you to pitch UCDC, because when faculty get letters from students saying, wow, I had a great time and experience at UCDC, it obviously helps them encourage others to do it. But most importantly for you, this is exactly the kind of thing that they will remember when you go back to them and are applying to graduate programs and whatever it is you need a letter of recommendation for. They'll think, oh yeah, they thanked me last time, I was successful, and it's exactly what you want. So I strongly recommend that you just drop a note telling them what a nice time you had, telling them about positive things about your internship or your classes. It'll make them feel good. And the final bit of advice, Professor Deas actually has a podcast 10 minutes before class, because she misses chatting with students 10 minutes before class. Her last podcast session was on exactly this: how to ask a professor for a letter of recommendation. And she speaks slower than I do and is more thorough than I am. So yes, she's putting in the chat. It's on Apple, 10 minutes before class. She has lots of other interesting topics, but specifically, she just did one on this, and I recommend you go there. Let me say a couple other quick things in closing. Washington, has a bad reputation, some of it richly deserved. Dysfunctional, power hungry, people in it for money, by partisanship, backbiting, all that kind of thing. I hope that each of you has at least gotten a taste of another piece of Washington. There are a lot of people in this city who are here because they want to help. They want to do something on a broad scale. They want to help, whether it's people with Down syndrome or people in a congressional office, or whether it's refugees or immigrants, whatever the cause might be. They are here because they are passionate about a cause. That passion is exciting. And I hope that you get caught up in that yourselves. As I always like to tell people, you are no longer able to say they messed this up. You still can say this now, like the country's messed up, they screwed it up, but soon you are them. You are they. You are the ones with your soon-to-be elite University of California education that can go out and change the world. And you do it one little step at a time, and hopefully it involves Washington at some point. But wherever you do it, you can do things that will be helpful. You're not here, and we're sorry about that, but you're part of the UCDC family. So when you're in Washington, please, please, please come by the building. Tell us who you are. Some of you, we've seen your faces, some of whom we've only seen your names, but come by and say hello. Come check out our building. We'll show you around. Each of us, the professors, all the staff that young Chan just named, and some who aren't here, the people who set up the courses for you, your program administrators, the people who do the IT, people who pay the bills here. They're genuinely interested in your success. I mean, they really are. That's why we all do what we do, is we want to see you succeed. It's going to be a better world if you all succeed. We've got really high expectations. So it would honor us if when you take the next step, let us know. That is how we get our satisfaction for doing what we do. And we wish you the best. Um, and spread the word on UCDC. I know some of your campus coordinators are on the call who are always trying to spread the word, and they will tell you a good recommendation from a student is worth more than any recommendation from a professor or from a staff member. So please endorse UCDC. Somehow spread the word to your friends, your roommates, and congratulations on making it through what's been a very different quarter. Back to you, Young Chan.
All righty. Thank you, Professor Sandalo, for that really thoughtful piece. I work with Professor Deas, and I did not know that there was a podcast. So I actually opened the tab, and I'm going to watch right after I finish hosting tonight. So I hope all of you will join me. Like, her views will go way up after tonight. I just know it. Professor Sandalo, thank you so much for all that tip. We're going to head to the next slide because I want to introduce somebody very important to us. So Carl Welliver was actually a UC student and a UCDC alum, and now he actually works in the UCDC building for an office called UCFGR, which is UC Federal Governmental Relations. They lobby for the UC system. They are the reason that we have so many amazing legislations and congressional efforts. So Carl wanted to speak with you all, and he indulged me in recording a hopefully funny video. That was my idea. So Sang-mi, if we can go to the next slide. And before you press start, if you find it funny, it is my idea. If you don't think it's funny, then let's say that it's Carl's idea. Sang-mi, let's play the video, please. I promise it's funnier with sound, and that is okay. I think we're gonna...
Our conversation. Dr. Fauci would be so proud of us. Let me take off my UCDC mask that went out to all our students, as well as the beanie that I bought with my own money. So I am so happy to see you because turns out we are going to have an end of the term celebration event for our winter quarter spring semester students. And I think they would love to ask you a few questions.
I would be so happy to chat with them. It's been so great having them on board this quarter.
Good. I am very glad to hear that. So to start off, I know I said you work in UCFGR, which is UC Federal Governmental Relations. Could you briefly give an elevator pitch on what that means and what your virtual background means for Double the Pell?
Yeah, so we're the system-wide lobbying office at the federal level for the UC system. And the Double the Pell initiative, which our interns in our office from UCDC, Ruth Garcia-Espino and Jessica Bushman, have been working on as well. The pitch is to double the federal Pell, which provides grant money to students across the country, more than 7 million students, to make sure that they can afford college and make sure that it's accessible and affordable for them. So that's something we're working at on the federal level right now with UC and the UC Student Association. Members of Congress are loving it. We're hoping to double that Pell Grant this year.
I love hearing all this good work that UCFGR does because usually you would be on the second floor where our students would be living on the fourth or 11th. So it's great to have you here. Our students had some wonderful questions. First of it is, what should students do on their very last day at their internships?
Yeah, totally weird these days. My advice that I always gave, I think is still holding true. And that's to write a note to the staffer or the people that you work with most closely in the office. I think it's going to show that you go the extra mile if you can find a way to somehow get it to them in their office at their mailing address. But you know what? There's so many different ways to make a mark and to leave an impression. I think that's a really great way to do it. But make sure you get on LinkedIn, add people on there that you work with. That way you can develop those connections. Make sure to keep them going into the future as well. That's what I would do.
I love those two tips for LinkedIn and thank you note. And I just want to tell our students, if you can do an email, do an email. If you can do a postcard, do a postcard. Whatever it looks like for you, make the effort because I am pretty sure that employers remember that. So Carl, if students in your interns have done that in the past, do you still remember them? Is it a worthwhile effort as an employer?
Yeah, I mean, completely. It stands out. I remember every intern that we've had, but you know, the ones that left any impression are the ones that left the most lasting impressions are the ones that sent a note and stayed in touch. But I definitely think that that is a clear way to make an impression on the employers, especially if you want to come back and work there in the future. So they'll remember it, I guarantee it.
Interesting. So for the winter quarter students whose internships, a lot of them are ending at the end of this week at the time of our end of the term celebration, hint, LinkedIn. And I think, for spring semester students who have maybe a month left in their internship, a month left to plan their postcard and the thank you note. So no excuses, y'all. Second really great question is actually from our Director of Student Services, Deas, who asked, what's the one thing students should do after UCDC to maintain the connection they made through their networks and to strengthen those connections?
Yeah, fantastic question from Debbie. I would say right away that even if it's, and this can be at any point in time after your post-UCDC time, send a note, send an email, like you said, even if it's years from now, even if it's 6 months down the line, you haven't even said a wink to them. I think that really, really hits home a lot. It continues to show that you're interested in the work both that you did and that you want to do in the future. I think it's just a really, really great way to make sure that you're doing everything you can to stay connected with them and develop yourself professionally as well.
I really, really like the tip of staying in touch and sending note. And one way to plug in one of our previous programs is called Ending Your Internship on a High Note. And our program administrator, Mike Nieto, Chantal Quintero, our communications, Jay, alumni, Yena, and UCFTR's Nicole Carlotto were speaking at the event. And Yena had a great tip. Set up a Google alert for the internship that you are at right now for the winter quarter spring semester students. And if any pings up in a headline, just send a quick hello and say, hey, I happened to see this headline. Just wanted to say hi and see how you're doing. And that's such a seamless way to keep in touch with folks. So I think that's a really great tip. And we have a third question, which is, how can UCDC become more than just a way for students to have added an internship experience on their resume? And how can students make more of the UCDC experience?
Yeah. UCDC became so much more than just an academic and internship experience for me, in that the friendships and professional relationships that I cultivated because of it, both at my internship site and at UCDC, but through the community that you build there, not just the physical space, but the community that you built there, my co-interns, those made the UCDC experience a unique, groundbreaking experience. It's what brought me back here afterwards. It's what really underscored the value of having a presence out in Washington, D.C., even if it's virtual. It's something that gives people a real opportunity to try something new, to do something that not a lot of Californians even have a chance to do. It is automatically something more than just an internship experience on your resume, but I really feel that you will feel that it blossoms into that as well.
Yeah, internship is obviously an amazing way. Of course, with amazing instructor another way. But community is also a really big part. And for students who are thinking, I didn't really get to meet too many friends through UCDC, it's okay. Towards the end of our end of the term celebration program tonight, we were actually doing a student breakout room. So you will be able to connect with a lot of other UCDC cohort students. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And our last question that I'm really excited to hear about is, as someone who's been part of the hiring process for interns at UCFGR, what do you think job applicants should know and do to make themselves a more competitive candidate? Because a lot of our students are graduating and looking for their first post-college jobs.
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. I think everybody that's watching this is uniquely positioned to really spin themselves as excellent candidate for any job. And that's that you've existed and lived in this virtual space now for not just this internship, obviously through your education as well. You're already miles ahead of the curve in terms of being ready IT-wise to enter this new space. And I know that that's right now far more relevant as we're still getting back into the regular working world. But you've mastered the skill set that I think is going to be crucial moving forward. I know a lot of places are talking about working from home permanently into the future, or at least on a half-time basis. These kinds of skills are going to be fantastic for you, both now, moving into the future. And I really think that that's going to set you apart as a candidate. For me, that matters a lot when I'm looking at our candidates, is making sure that they're both a good fit for the organization, but that they're going to be able to thrive in the environment that we're in right now. So those are just a few things to really hit home on in your interview. You're good at this. You've been doing this for years. That's going to set you apart in many ways. Having done this internship experience is fantastic as well.
what is so valuable about your response is that I think so many people looked at remote working world as a way to see it from a deficit point of view and say, oh, I had to do it remotely, I'm not there. I think it's a strength. I think it's such an asset that you know how to do that. So I think for UCDC students watching right now, what you've done this quarter, this semester is amazing. It's not something that's less than that you had to do. It's something that you chose to do, and it's going to be something that pays off. So I'm very proud and happy for all of you. And Carl, really quick thing, do you have any like goodbye to say to our students? Any last words of wisdom?
I always fall in love with the interns that we have in our office. And if any of you were even, like 70% as good as our interns in our office, you all are miles and miles and millions of percent ready for this working world. I'm so grateful to all of you for coming out here in this virtual space and doing all of this. The impact that you've made on the organizations that you've worked in, the offices that you've worked for, whether they're up on the Hill, with NPR, wherever they are. This means much. You're ambassadors for California, for public higher education generally. You all are showing people out here what it means to be a UC student, to succeed and to thrive. You all are going to go out and do great things. We are here for you. We're going to support you now, moving forward into the future. Just want to see you all succeed. Good luck. Get out there. Enjoy it. It's going to be fantastic.
Thank you, Carl, so much. And I know I am hosting the event anyway, so Young Chan, I'll turn it over to you now.
Wow, Young Chan, thank you. I couldn't say that with a straight face. I'm so sorry.
Oh, Carl Welliver from UCFTR.
Alrighty, so I saw that Savannah and Judy were very, very validating in their comments on the chat, which is really funny because that was our second take of the day. And Carl had to run out for a late meeting. And we were talking at the end and we were saying, would students even like this? And we were laughing and said, we don't know, but it seems like the response is pretty good. So I'm glad you all liked it. And there were some really good tips. So feel free to revisit later or hint, hint, cold email Carl. Find Carl Welliver on LinkedIn and just say, hey, I saw your video at the UCDC end of term event and you're really funny. Can I speak to you? He loves cold emails and he'll really appreciate it. Next and final staff member, she was one of my first go-to people to speak to you all. So she is Debbie Deas. I'm not only nice to her because she's my supervisor, but she is a really genuinely, I saw Debbie smiling on the camera. She's a really cool person, not only because she endures my loud Korean karaoke singing, not only because she endures my cooking smells, because we live in the same building, same floor, but she does amazing work as Director of Student Services, as a chair of the UCDC Basic Needs Committee. So Debbie, I'm gonna hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you. I'm in one of the classrooms that it's probably my favorite classroom in the building because it has an amazing view of the city. And I've kind of turned it into a sewing room because we're in a pandemic and I just feel like I need to sew all the things. But I wouldn't be able to do that if you all were here. But I don't know if I would like the sewing more or having you all here more, but I'm glad that we have had you this term. When we first met on Monday, January 4th, we did a session where we explored your hopes and your fears. In that session, we talked about all the things you wished for, your experiences, and all the things that you were uncertain about as you entered the UCDC Remote Experience Program. You were eager to jump into your internships and you wanted to do a good job. You were scared that you would make mistakes. You were excited about the opportunity to make a difference, and you were weary that your contributions wouldn't be valued. In that session, you all set the tone for yourselves and each other by sharing your gifts of support, encouragement, creativity, and ingenuity. When your peers presented problems, you presented solutions. When someone shared their uncertainty about how to handle something, you shared your personal experiences and what worked for you. When some of you practiced the beautiful vulnerability of sharing your fear about not getting internships, you all rallied to encourage and support each other. You were able to achieve remarkable things. You tackled projects you never imagined. You dealt with difficult coworkers. You planted seeds and laid foundations for work that will flourish beyond your time at your organizations, and that's just the beginning. UCDC is only one small segment of the brilliant and bright trail that you're blazing for yourself and all who come after you. And we know that in years to come, you will see how that small segment had such a very big impact. We are so excited to see what's next for you, the paths that you walk, the teams that you lead, the differences that you make. And we're incredibly grateful to be just a part of the magnificent contributions you'll give to the world. As you journey on, we hope that you'll take us with you. We wish you the best, and we sincerely thank you for your thoughtful and meaningful contributions to the UCDC Rep program. Thank you, Chan.
Debbie, thank you so much. That was really helpful and very valuable. Thank you so much. We're going to go to the next slide because I am very, very excited to introduce two student presenters. In the busy term, we sent out calls for submission because we really wanted to hear from you all, and we wanted student presenters to speak at tonight's event. And we had two students answer our calls. So they are Kathy Vo and Jonathan Lopez, both from UC Riverside. And we got to talk a little bit, and they're actually part of our WandaVision weekly crew. We watched TV shows together and we connected. Ishel and Judy, I know you're on the call too, so I am very happy to see both of them as student presenters. Please note just a couple of things. They will be sharing their LinkedIn profiles and asking you all to connect with them. Please take them up on their offer. They are going to be wonderful and fantastic public speakers. Please be an engaged audience. Please feel free to engage via chat. And I am very excited to hear their presentations. I'm going to hand it over to Kathy Vo first. Kathy.
Hello, nice to meet you all. My name's Kathy, and I'm from UCR as introduced. I'm currently interning for Congressman Carbajal. He's from the CA 24th District, and I'm here to speak a little bit more about my experience and some of the things I learned during this time. Yeah. Next slide. And then just to kind of start off, some of the salient identities that I have is just being a young adult, Gen Z, during this time, and also kind of experiencing this during the pandemic, and being like an Asian American, second gen, cisgender woman. I noticed that through my congressional internship, I have received a lot of calls from people who identify in the same groups as me, and also have some of the similar struggles and concerns that I have, and especially about how the pandemic affects their educational goals, and also their concerns about the money that's coming in or not coming in, and also some of the immediate concerns about their LGBTQ plus rights during this time. So those are some of the things that really matter to me, and I think by being in the UCDC program, I've been able to connect more with those communities that I identify with. And also just through my internship, I've been able to hear more from people that I can relate with. Next slide, please. And then here to talk a little bit about how LinkedIn helped with me during my internship. Next slide, please. So yeah, this is what like my LinkedIn looks like. And so if you want to check it out a little bit later, you can. I'm open to answering any questions that you might have about my internship, and maybe even connect you to my supervisor if you'd like. But yeah, during my internship, I felt like connecting through LinkedIn was really important because I'd be able to go to the community events and then just connect with the people after the fact and send them a message and try to connect with them and be like, oh, like, thank you so much for allowing us to come to your event today. And I was able to learn so much. And through that, I've been able to have a lot of coffees with people in the DC community, but also be able to connect with people like caseworkers in my office and also my supervisor. And just really maintaining that connection will be really important later on, especially since we're in the remote environment right now. Next slide, please. One of the main things that I really wanted to do that I feel like I was successful in was I wanted to be able to network during the pandemic. And I feel like just being able to stay active during a time where everybody's stuck indoors is going to really set you apart later on when you are looking for job opportunities. So congratulations to everyone who participated in this cohort, because I'm super proud of you guys because we're able to do something during this time. I know it's been difficult for everyone. So yeah, next slide, please. So some of the things that I've learned, like I mentioned, just putting myself out there and being able to ask questions, especially, you don't want to get things wrong when you're working, but this is kind of the time to like make mistakes and learn from them. And even more so, like when you're in your internship, you should be able to prevent those early on so that later on you don't make that mistake if you're actively working in the same environment. And then also kind of just like, again, with networking, being able to maintain those connections and extending that welcome that they might have for you to come visit like DC later on, that'd be really good for you to like maybe have a in-person coffee when things get better. Next slide, please. And then through UCDC, I've been able to kind of prepare myself for the immediate next step. So I kind of put my goals from, more like in the short-term future to long-term future. But yeah, just I've been able to connect with the field that I really care about, which is immigration law. I work really closely to the caseworker in the office who works on immigration law. So I've been able to just be able to connect and understand people's concerns. And that has really, really like made a difference in my life and in my career choice. I've already sent in a lot of my law school applications. So if there's anybody who's also planning on going to immigration law in the future or applying for law school, I'd love to give you advice or maybe like LSAT advice. And then, yeah, just more long term, I hope to be able to give back. And this opportunity has really taught me how to be better at public speaking and also just want to give back to the community as much as possible in the future. And then super long term goal is that I'd really like to run for public office someday to be able to enact that change that I see in the world. Yeah, and connect with me if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Kathy, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. I honestly don't even know which. So I had this note on a Post-it note on my laptop that said, name one or two things about each student presenter so that I can, sound like I'm encouraging. I can't pick one. Your presentation looked fantastic. I think we all learned a lot about you, about your experience, about what you want and who you are. And it's really valuable. Thank you, Kathy. We have our next student, who is Jonathan Lopez. I'm very excited for his presentation as well. I'm going to hand it over to you, and I will stop my video and mute myself. Jonathan, please.
All right, thank you. Can we just get one more virtual round of applause for Kathy? I vote for that, and I just wanted to give her a round of applause. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan Lopez. I'm a fourth year economics major here at UC Riverside, and today I'll just be going over my experiences being part of UCDC during a pandemic for this winter quarter. And the next slide, please. My initial hopes for UCDC. Before I do some context, on the right-hand side, I had the wonderful opportunity to visit DC in 2019, and I only went for a conference for 2 days, and it was this huge thing, and it was very intimidating. Just getting to see how everyone was like going from office to office, and I had no idea. But from that experience, it was one of the driving factors to kind of to do UCDC. I applied to UCDC to just learn about national advocacy. Having done like involvement here at UCR, fighting for whether it was for students' rights or just getting involved here on campus, I saw that being at the nation level was a thing I was interested in. And after getting into the program, I decided to apply for the League of United Latin American Citizens as a corporate development intern. And in the position, I was getting to learn about corporate advocacy. When you think of corporations, you always think of them of like, wait a minute, they're not the best intentions. However, a lot of them have foundations and philanthropic branches, which are very helpful. And they're really trying to make a difference. And I decided to kind of learn more about it. So I applied for there. And since then at LULAC, I really hope to participate in shadowing meetings with government leaders. LULAC is one of the largest organizations of civic engagement in the country. And I always wanted to kind of see what happens in those meetings. And more importantly, I just wanted to learn California plays a role in the country's capital. Living in SoCal and just being Californian, like everyone talks about how California is leading the nation and XYZ topic, or setting the trend. However, like I wanted to see how that really plays out in DC, and I'm gonna explain that in the next slide. So salient identities. For this, one of the things I realized during my UCDC internship was I prefer coordinating relief and community initiatives. This was just doing behind the scenes work, setting up the meetings. Previously, my early internships, I was doing a lot of hands-on work, but getting to sit down and during my internship at LULAC and really getting to see all the leaders and all the communication that takes up having one meeting at the beginning of the quarter all the way to the end, and seeing how that created a connection and a relationship at LULAC, it made me realize that's something very interesting. And this kind of ties into, give me 1 second, sorry, my phone's going off. I want to just enhance my skill of corporate and negotiation outreach. Communicating with corporate sponsors is very challenging, whether they do a scandal 1 week or they get awarded another. It's a very difficult challenge, and being able to work as an individual to kind of help them gear to the goals that you want to do as an organization was something that I very enjoyed. And I think more importantly was realizing that national involvement is as crucial as local and state involvement. When you think nationally, you think of, the whole country. But however, in DC, I got to see that it's a very small community. Everyone knows each other. The fact that I got referred, like the people I was working with were from SoCal. One of them was actually from UCR. As an alumni, it was very like a shock to me. And overall, I really felt that I could be involved one day in the future in national advocacy. Next slide, please. One of the things I learned was self is more. It's 2021. It's a challenge to handle multiple responsibilities. I just think of like doing my own internship, extracurriculars, my courses, applying for jobs, and just trying to like figure out my own personal life has really been a challenge. And with in addition to that, the pandemic, social unrest, and this reality of not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, it's really just make time for yourself. I really just found that as most. I found myself taking 5-10 minute breaks, kind of thinking, processing, and writing down what was happening. To like Professor Mark Dandelo earlier today, like you think back in January, at the beginning of January with the Capitol riot, and you go on to see how much happened in just 3 months, really made me just kind of take it in and realize that everyone mentions we're living in history, but this is history, and just being involved and getting to be involved not only as myself, but also through the organization and like trying to change the country was something that really meant a lot to me. And realizing that sometimes if you step away from it, it's not bad as long as you give yourself time to really take care of yourself. With that in mind, I kind of set up some future goals. I have 3 photos here, which I would like to discuss. The first one is going back to my roots, actually. I grew up in LA, and one of the first places I started was in City Hall, and, kind of going up to where I'm at today, going from local all the way to the national. I would love to go back and be involved in local politics. However, with the perspective of international stage, one of them being sister cities of Los Angeles. A lot of cities in the country have sister cities, which are basically agreements that are created with cities, and they kind of help with bringing cultural awareness to the communities. And I would be involved with that. The picture on the right with the organization called Chemonics. This is the field of international development. This is actually I learned from my Reducing Poverty and Inequality course with Professor Hannah. Realizing how there's a field in that in corporate development was very interesting to me, and I would love to learn more about it one day. And then finally, after the national stage, the next step right after would be the United Nations. I do hope one day in the future I'll be able to step in that, whether it's the office room or just being involved in diplomacy at the international stage is one thing I would really look forward to. And then finally, here's my LinkedIn. However, I did want to talk about LinkedIn for a quick second. Um, Previously, I think it was around a year ago, I was a LinkedIn ambassador, and we got to learn about the platform. But in a way, I feel like I didn't use it as much. However, this was the first quarter where I really felt that despite the remote environment, like I really got to connect with peers outside of my network, just changing my name tag as UCDC scholar and putting my internship. I really got connected to different people I didn't expect. And it's much more closer than it is. I know it might seem awkward to message someone on LinkedIn like, hey, I see that you worked in the organization, but it turns out more often than not, individuals are more likely to accept it and communicate with you. And just informational interviews that are very helpful in my own career, and just remote networking. If you do have plans of going to DC like I do in a far future, it definitely is a very important tool. And for me, my next steps with LinkedIn is to continue corporate philanthropy. There's a lot of organizations here in SoCal that are involved in that. And then I really want to use this platform on LinkedIn. So with that in mind, if any of you would like to connect with me, feel free to do so.
All righty.
And thank you everyone again for being awesome peers, the staff here at UCDC. I know they've been working hard on creating these events possible, and I hope everyone has an awesome spring break, or I believe for semester they're having a pause. I'm not sure what's it called, but point is have an awesome spring break.
Jonathan, I love it. The last slide was just so heartwarming for me. I just want to thank both our student presenters. Can we just get either a round of applause, clapping, react on Zoom, like chat? Like, I think Jonathan and Kathy were fantastic speakers. It is never really easy to speak in front of so many people, such deep and personal thoughts, reflections, experiences. So both of you were truly remarkable. And I'm a little guilty of going to both y'all LinkedIn profiles right now and immediately connecting with both of y'all because I really want to. I am going to endorse both of your public speaking because I really enjoyed today. So thank you both. Again, we are going to go to the next screen and move forward. So student breakout rooms are about to start, and shout out to Judy with her beautiful selfie with the UCDC merch. So we have three kind of housekeeping things that I really wanted to talk about. So first, I promised raffle prizes. So I am going to name three winners that are chosen randomly. So three random winners are: one, Jackie Ruiz; winner number two, Ari Oshiro; winner number three, Ruth Garcia Espino. So I will be in contact with all three of you quite shortly after the event, and the prizes are $25 Amazon gift cards. They will be electronically emailed to you. So again, I'll be in touch. If you have any questions whatsoever, please do not hesitate to reach out. At this point, because the next portion of our event is student breakout rooms, I want to take this time to really take a pause and thank all the staff and UC campus coordinator attendees, whether they are physically here with us or not. They have done truly amazing work and advocacy for all of the students, and I want to take a moment for us to say goodbye to them, to say that we really appreciate them. And as we do that, we also want to take a snapshot. So what that means is our coordinator of communications and promotions, Shay, is going to take a screenshot of everybody. So if you want to, if you can, turn on your cameras. And
if we can stop screen sharing, that'll be very helpful so I can go to gallery view.
Yes. All right, so if you can, turn on your cameras. If you can't, do not worry. I see some new faces popping up. Love it. Okay, so as folks are turning on their cameras and getting situated, if there are multiple screens, don't even worry. Shay will take multiple screenshots. So at this point, y'all have a couple of options. You can do a pose like, like, wow, surprise, what's on your right? Or you can do like a cute little winky. You can do like a chic, like little like looking away kind of a thing. But I'm going to count. Oh, Judy's little finger hearts. Love that as well. Alrighty. Shay, I'm going to count down. Actually, could you count down from 5? Is that okay, Shay?
Yes.
Perfect. Whenever you're ready.
Take a couple just because, want to get the best shot of everyone. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and snap. I'm going to do another. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and smile. All right. I think that's good. Thank you all for being here and being such good teammates and students.
I love it. Alrighty, so as Sangmi starts screen sharing one more time, and Kathy, I think I blinked as well, but she took 2 really good ones, so I think we're okay. As Sangmeet starts screen sharing again so that we can talk a little bit more about student breakout rooms. Formally now we say goodbye to our UC campus coordinators. We say farewell to our UCDC staff members. We will be hearing from Professor Deas to have the final word. So you will see her one more time, but for everyone else, we're going to say a warm farewell. Thank them for everything, especially Professor Sandalo, Carl, who's not here, Director Debbie Deas for their kind words as well. And thank you all for attending. This was very meaningful for us. Thank you very much. Alrighty, as we get situated with our student attendees, we will go to the next slide. Perfect. And I don't know if they're here, but Jordan is our second beautiful UCDC merch model with the mask and the peace sign. I think he said he was going for a coffee, which I can definitely relate to. So as you can see on your screen, Breakout Room will be 15 minutes long. I wanted to give you all a chance to adequately connect with one another for 15 minutes. We will give maybe a minute to 2 minutes timer to count down towards the end of the breakout rooms. It will be only students because we really want you all to be as truthful as you want to, be as honest as you want to, and be able to share what you want to share freely. We will be having one staff member per breakout room. We will have 3 breakout rooms, and one will have me, the other will have our program administrator, Chantal Quintero, and the third one will have our program specialist, Sangmin Kaur. And you have the same prompt as our student presenters, Jonathan and Kathy. So our questions, our facilitators for breakout rooms already know them and they'll ask you, but to get your brains rolling, we wanna ask you, what are your salient identities and how do you identify as? And why do they matter to you? Because for example, I am a first generation American college student. I am an East Asian queer gay male who's an immigrant, and those identities all affect how I view the world, how I perceive professionalism, networking, how I interact with others, what I view as valuable. And we don't really get to separate ourselves, our who we are when we are at work, when we're at class, when we're interacting with folks. So what do you identify as and why is that important to you? Yeah, first gen, Cynthia. Yeah. Alrighty. And second question, what were your hopes? Why did you start UCDC? Why was this so appealing to you? And finally, and not the least important, now that you're here, now that you've done this, what now? How does UCDC relate to your future goals? Jonathan and Kathy have expertly laid out how their UCDC experience relates to their future, what they want to do from now on. What about you? We want to hear about how you are going to be the important change makers that we know you're going to be. So we want you to share success strategies, stressful moments, what you valued, all that stuff. So we want the sharing to roll out. And when you're in your breakout rooms, share your LinkedIn profile links. I know some of y'all already shared LinkedIn profiles, which keep doing. In the in breakout rooms, you will be with 5, 6 other students, so it'll be even more smaller, intimate group to connect with. So let's make that happen. So Sangmi, we can stop sharing the screen, and Shay is going to start our breakout rooms in just a moment.
All right. I'll hit the open all rooms now. Have fun, y'all.
Thanks, Shay. Bye. I really want to kind of set the tone of reflection and thoughtfulness of you all, because I know, so like me presenting right now was like my work personality, me being a little bit more real for a second. Whatever your identity is and whatever your experiences were, you are powerful human beings. And one of our students, Cynthia, in our breakout room said that we're breaking barriers. And I want you to find your motivation. Again, being very vulnerable. At one point, in order to stay our family's eviction, I functioned as translator and lawyer in front of a judge in the same day because of my poor immigrant family's lack of college education, English skills. And I share all that not to be like, oh, woe is my life sucks, but for me to say my family is my motivation. They are my number one. And I know the blood, sweat, and literal tears that everybody went through just to put me in DC. So I know all of you have your stories. And we all have different stories. So find what makes you tick, and you're going to be a powerful human being, okay? So I know you're all gonna do great things, and I hope that I have the privilege of witnessing it in the sidelines, if not an active party with you. So I am very happy to be here with all of you. So with that said, we have a feedback. So I made the tiny URL link really short and easy to type, but I realized I can just type it in the chat as well. So let me do that right now. And if you can, feel free to go leave some feedback for us, UCDC WQSS feedback. And just take a couple of seconds, and I love the LinkedIn drops. Please keep doing it. So a couple of things are gonna go on. So I'm gonna wait for you to submit your feedback. We wanna make sure that spring quarter students also have fun with this program, and we wanna make it even better. And don't hold back on your responses because we really need your honest thoughts to make it better. And keep dropping your LinkedIn profiles. So if you're done with your survey, then keep, go to people's LinkedIn profiles and add people and say, Meet, actually, because I dropped the link, we're gonna go to the next slide. So we're gonna juggle a couple of things. So survey, LinkedIn, and peruse this screen right now for various LinkedIn alumni groups. We talked about networking, we talked about meeting people. This is the best way. Each group has about 700 or 1,000 people. So feel free to take a screenshot right now so that you can revisit it later. And let's see, if anybody can, Chantal, would you be able to drop the LinkedIn group links in the chat by any chance? If not, that is totally okay. But take the screenshot, go to people's LinkedIn profiles, fill out the survey, and don't worry, we're almost done. I know it is late for you all. You want to get dinner, you want to hang out. For our East Coast folks, y'all, it is 9:24. After I turn 21, like 8 p.m. afterwards, I'm out of commission. Like, I can't do it anymore. Like, some people, okay, personal story while y'all are filling out surveys. My friends who are 20 years old will go out at 11 p.m. And I'm like, I don't know how y'all do it. Like, that seems impossible to me. And Chantal, thank you so much for dropping the LinkedIn group links. Thank you, thank you. All righty. So I'm going to now talk about the LinkedIn groups for maybe 20 seconds. We have the last screen afterwards, and then I'm going to hand it over to our Professor Deas for final words. So LinkedIn groups, on the left one, it is all UC alums, not just UCDC. Everybody from UCLA, UC Berkeley, I can't name all 9. My memory is not that great. But all the UC alums who are now in DC or were in DC are in that group. Ask for job postings, cold email people, cold connect with people. And if you're more of the intimate type where you wanna, have a clear way in through UCDC, your right alumni group is going to be perfect. So feel free, yeah, and like what Judy said on chat, highly recommend cold emailing people. So we're going to head to the next screen, Sangmeet. Wonderful, last screen. Most importantly, I think, keep in touch with each other. I know that remote environments are challenging in different ways to meet new folks, but through the breakout rooms today, through the actual event today, through cold contacting people on LinkedIn, we want you to keep talking to one another. You are doing something phenomenal by being remote UCDC interns. So yeah, you live in different houses and you're not in the same dorm, but that might even be a more powerful connection that you all share. So use LinkedIn, use Google Hangout, use your Zoom accounts from school or free Zoom meetings, whatever that looks like for you. We want you to make it happen. Discord, your own Slack channels, texting, what works for you is going to be perfect. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to our Professor Deas for the final word, and then I will let you all go. So Professor Deas, please.
Well, thank you, Young Chan. I love having the last word. So this is perfect for me. I do also want to let everybody go because it's getting late for you all, and I want you to have your evening to yourself. But I want to start by thanking Young Chan for his amazing MC abilities. So thank you, Young Chan, for doing such a great job tonight, keeping everybody together and being just a hoot, which you are. We love you dearly. I want to just reiterate as my last words, just how very proud of you we all are, for your commitment, for your maturity, for your perseverance in what has been an often very challenging environment. It has not been easy for you, and we are very aware of that. And you have really just risen to the occasion in ways that just astound us. Not that we didn't expect great things, but it's just been hard. And so we don't take for granted all the initiative and all the sweat and tears that it's taken to do so well. You're truly an inspiration to all of us. We hope that you stay in touch, visit when you can. We will not be shut down forever. And this is a vibrant, vibrant place. And we hope that all of you get a chance to visit or come live and work here. So many opportunities. And the center is here for you. It always is. And I meant it before, we are your forever family. And so definitely take advantage of that. So with that, I will just say be safe and be healthy, and take very good care of yourself.
Thank you, Professor Deas. At this point, we are done. So Sangmi, you can stop screen sharing. We can stop recording. And I will have you all start to slowly leave. I'm going to stay here for just a couple of minutes until everybody leaves. So feel free to connect with each other, say hello, say goodbyes, and whatever makes sense for you all. Thanks for being here tonight.